Hello, I'm Kane, the Director of ESG Research for Bloomberg Intelligence, and for this month's ESG News Bulletin, we'll focus on two key areas. First, we'll discuss the impacts of Hurricanes Helene and Milton, and second, we'll discuss the European Union's decision to delay implementation of its Deforestation Regulation. I'll then be joined by Jessica Argento, an ESG advocate within Bloomberg Sales, who will walk through Bloomberg's new ESG Nature function. So in early October, Hurricane Milton hit Central Florida just 13 days after Hurricane Helene made initial landfall. According to CoreLogic, Hurricane Milton will result in between $21 billion and $34 billion in insured and uninsured losses, while they estimate Hurricane Helene to have generated between $30.5 and $47.5 billion in insured and uninsured losses. The increased risks associated with climate damage had already led many insurers to exit the Florida market. And to Citizens Property Insurance Corporation, the state-owned insurer of last resort being the state's largest insurer. According to Insurify, home insurance in Florida is the most expensive in the country at an average of just under $12,000 a year. At BI, we continue to issue research on the various ways climate is impacting the economy and the investing landscape, including a report that finds federal climate aid may only account for 2% of the damages caused by Helene and Milton, compared to 8% for Hurricane Harvey in 2017, and an average of 31% prior to 2016. We also find that climate damages generate more than $500 billion annually in economic activity in the U.S. In response to this, we developed a list of companies called the Repair and Prepare theme that are focused on meeting different needs in the climate economy. BI's Equal Weight Climate Repair and Prepare group has outperformed the Equal Weight S&P 500 by 10% annually over the last 5 years on a beta-adjusted basis. In October, the European Commission announced that it would delay the much-anticipated implementation of the EU Deforestation Regulation, or EUDR. The law aims to ensure that products imported to or exported from EU markets no longer contribute to deforestation and forest degradation. Specifically, the law focuses on commodities including palm oil, beef, timber, coffee, cocoa, rubber, soy, and many of their derived products. The law requires that companies that sell such products in the EU or export them from the EU be able to trace them back to the plot of land where they were produced and to prove that the land was not deforested after 2020. The regulation became effective in June of 2023, and large companies were initially given 18 months to implement the rule, which was scheduled to become applicable at the end of December 2024, while micro and small enterprises were given until December 2025 to comply. The implementation has now been delayed by a year for both groups after stakeholders raised concerns about their state of readiness. The BIES team has issued numerous research reports on biodiversity, including a recent analysis of the packaged food industry, which found that of the 288 companies we analyzed, 93 have revenue that's derived from business activity in forest risk commodities, totaling more than $415 billion. Despite this exposure, just 15% of companies have committed to achieve zero deforestation across their own operations and/or supply chains. And now I'll turn over to Jessica Argento to walk through Bloomberg's new ESG Nature screen, which can help investors monitor nature and biodiversity performance and exposure.
Hello, my name is Jessica Argento, and I'm an ESG advocate within Bloomberg Sales. Biodiversity has become an increasingly important topic for policymakers, investors, and companies. The Bloomberg Terminal has several advanced tools to help you invest with nature considerations in mind. Bloomberg has recently released the function ESG Nature Go. This screen allows you to assess company-level risks and performance by analyzing nature and biodiversity exposures. Here, we have the company JBS loaded up. The screen is broken down into 5 categories. The summary gives you an overview of key metrics under each following tab, giving us a top-level look into how JBS is evaluated throughout the tool. The sector risk allows you to analyze exposure to high nature risk sectors. On the left, we see JBS's revenue exposure to high-risk product sector, agriculture, beverage, and food. On the right, we can see very high sector-driven risk of impacting nature. Pristine areas in water will show you assets in biodiversity intact areas and assets in high water stress areas, respectively. This gives us high-level insight into JBS's physical assets locations considered pristine and the proportion of these in high biodiversity intactness. Deforestation will show you exposure to deforestation risk, where we can see commodity involvement and policies implemented by the company to mitigate deforestation. Lastly, company actions will show you action being taken to manage nature and biodiversity. For further clarity, for the full range of the Bloomberg Biodiversity data offering can be found on ESG Biodiversity. Thank you, and back to you, Eric.
Thanks, Jessica. And as a reminder to our viewers, more data and research related to these topics and much more can of course be found on Terminal by going to BI/ESG Go. Thanks for joining us, and please stay tuned for next month's bulletin, and we'll see you then.